Brad grew up inside of a $700 million business. What would you say is broken in how we perceive entrepreneurship in our culture?
You think about those entrepreneurs out there, all they focus on is just money. Their heart condition is all about them.
There are also some really bad habits that I think are being taught in entrepreneurship. This infatuation with...
Some of the best entrepreneurs I know are constantly questioning the status quo. That's how you evolve in business. It's how you continue to grow.
Entrepreneurship is critical thinking for oneself, taking ownership of your own life and saying, I'm going to pursue this. I'm not going to give up.
Ultimately, what we're called to do is to serve other people. They weren't making money when they first started for about 4 years. I asked my dad what made the business go the way it did. He said,
well, welcome back to another episode of Good Business. Super pumped today to have dear friend Brad Pearse on the show with me, along with my co-host Luke Frazier. And Brad, he grew up inside of a $700 million business. Is that right?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
700. So it went from 0 to 765 locations. This is right. 65.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yep.
All right.
That's insane.
He built a $12 million manufacturer rep book. Then he moved into enterprise SaaS and sales leadership. And Brad's promise is this. It's simple. It's move from volume to context, run Sales Navigator as your workspace, and lead with education first selling. So in this hour, and yes, Daniel Miller, Steven, wherever Steven is, this will be an hour. No doubt about it. So guys, buckle up. And we are going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about first, trust-based prospecting with Sales Navigator specifically. And does it actually beat the real world? Like handshakes. We're going to talk about that versus LinkedIn. What breaks first when a rep goes from territory to running a leadership? So if someone has grown up in an organization, how do they step into a leadership role? And the issues that they face, how do they fix it? And then how do we tie daily activity to revenue using signals, warm paths, and smart links without lying to yourself? So at the end, we're going to do the same thing that we did this past episode, which is we're going to have Brad leave a question for the next guest. We're going to give that a shot. So be thinking about that, Brad. So what I want to do, Brad, is I want to kick off with this one question.
yeah.
If you can go back and tell yourself something 10 years ago, and this is from our dear friend David Lillard, what would it be to make it better for your business, your family, or your world? So if you could go back, tell yourself something 10 years ago, what would it be to make your life better, your family better, your world better?
Yeah, that's a great question. If I were to talk to myself 10 years ago and like, hey, how does this whole business, life, marriage, kids all blend together in a way that you can really like truly make impact? I would say always put God first.
Amen.
God first at the center of everything that you do. And we've talked about this in our family all the time. And it's a really, really important part of our family culture that bleeds into business, that bleeds into other areas of our life. So yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Amen.
All right. So be thinking about it. What's the question you're going to ask for the future guest when we get to the end? Okay. So, man, when I was reading the notes that you sent over about what you've done, I honestly, I thought it was a typo. So your family company hit $700 million and 65 stores. Then the market flipped, right? And it changed. And it changed faster than the business could change. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. So what part of the Navigator workflow that you have now is most likely and most susceptible to the same kind of challenges that $700 million business went through? And what do you think an early sign is so that you can kill it before it actually impacts
That is such a great question. So let me back up here. So, when you're running an organization or business, part of the whole strategy and having this kind of like long-term outlook on business is anticipation. So your ability to anticipate is really, really important. Now, when we think about kind of like how that business scaled up to 700 million, everything was really like focused around the details and understanding execution, right? I asked my dad, like, hey, what made the business go the way it did? And he said, it all comes down to culture and execution. Mm-hmm. But if you keep your eye off the ball, or take your eye off the ball and not pay attention to the things that got you to where you were or where you are, you can lose track of it, right? And little subtle things can come into play, like complacency, or, hey, we've got this nailed down. But you have to have this hunger edge to you all the time, and looking for that edge to grow. And so when we think about business development from a sales perspective, and even Sales Navigator, it's really the same thing. And when you think about Sales Navigator, what you're trying to do is you're trying to anticipate the problems that you're solving for your customers, right? Because if you're specialized in a certain vertical or a certain segment of the market or whatever that might be, there are certain signals and triggers that you know offhand already, or at least the problem. But you have to start with, hey, what problem are we solving for, and who are we solving? What problem are we solving for, and when are we solving it for that customer? So, Sales Navigator really gives you the ability to anticipate what the problems are, just through real-time triggers, buying signals, those types of things that you look for, because people post current things that are happening inside their business, right? Whether it's a victory or things that they learned or whatever that might be. Those are really important points to kind of surface from a trigger perspective. I would say the other part too is if we understand from a B2B buyer perspective, so think about buyer's journey, right? 75 to 80% of buyers are already down the buying path before they even connect with the sales rep.
Right.
So in order for you to get ahead of the game, part of that whole strategy in today's world for sales and prospecting and driving new business is that you have to have a really, really solid content strategy and messaging strategy that all leads with insights and value first. So kind of this idea of like leading with insights and value first is really, really important, because you're building trust. There's so much noise out there that we have to cut through it. And how do we do it? Well, it's the ability to actually build trust in that way. So hopefully that answers your...
Honestly, I want to double click on all of it. So I'm so pumped. All right. So when it comes to that foundational business, I mean, you got my interest peaked. What business was it? The $700 million business. What were you guys doing?
Yeah.
And what were the early signs of chaos?
So it was a consumer electronics retail company. Back in 1968, my dad bought a franchise called Team Electronics. It was owned by a corporation now known as the Target Corporation out of Minneapolis. But it was a franchise back in 1968. Back then, like, audio was huge, right? Led Zeppelin and a lot of these music artists were really like coming onto the scene, the Eagles and all of that. Well, he really kind of took that model, and he figured out a way to, one, add value to his customer base, got really good at marketing. It all came down to the messaging side. He started to attract more customers to the store. And one thing led to another, to where he started getting lines outside the store. Now, they weren't making money when they first started for about 4 years. Wow. Like it was really, really hard. But then he really figured out this formula of the messaging strategy, being clear with it, started attracting, obviously more customers to the store. And then it just started to grow from there. And then with the market changes, it couldn't be just an audio store. It had to be, like, video came into play, right? So it became an audio video store. And then in about 1990, 1991, in the Denver market, Best Buy and an old retailer called Circuit City, which is no longer around anymore, but they announced that they were coming into the market. And at that time, the stores were about a 10 to 15,000 square foot format. And my dad was thinking to himself, well, like, hey, we should either hit these guys head on, or let's totally take a different path. Well, he decided to create a business model where let's take these guys head on. And like, don't run away from competition, lean into it kind of mentality. And so he revamped the whole entire business model, created a store format that was like a 35,000 square foot store format, like a Best Buy. And then they went public in 1993, and it just took off from there.
Wow.
And so they got really good at systems and processes, and what they really got good at was the customer experience.
Yeah.
But it all comes back to culture, right? This idea of culture and execution was really, really important.
Yeah.
So they took those principles of the systems and processes and duplicated it, right? There's a repeatable process that they could scale.
Wow.
And it all came down to, they wanted to be known as like the Nordstrom of the consumer electronics industry. So they had this customer service experience model where it's kind of this hospitality mindset first.
Yeah.
It was called the 10 Commandments of Customer Service. And his operating manual was actually the golden rule. So he had business cards,
Nice.
right? This is right out of the Bible, of treat other people like you'd like to be treated, right? And don't make a promise that you can't keep. And that was it.
Wow.
And so that was that story there from a business perspective. But I would say they got so good at running and scaling, they became eventually like the 4th largest CE retailer in the country. But where it started to get a little bit chaos, if you will, was competition. Margins got slim. There was a small online retailer called Amazon.com that came onto the scene. There's other retailers like Costco that came onto the scene, started entering the different product categories. The problem is that their heads were down so far into their own business that they didn't look out far enough to anticipate maybe what could be or what was coming, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so at that point in time, it became a struggle, right? Like margins were going down. You can't maintain, sales and profitability on that largest square of a retail format, right? Because it's all about profit per square foot. So I would say that the details that got them to where they got, and just the taking the eye off the ball a little bit, to where it kind of just threw off the company a little bit. Eventually they sold the business to another retail guy that started a company in the rental video business. So if you heard of like Blockbuster or Hollywood Video back in the day, this guy was actually the one that actually started Hollywood Video that came in and bought my parents' business. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the lessons learned there, how are they being applied to what you're doing now?
Yeah. So I honestly, all the things that I've learned growing up in a business like that, there were so many great things that I learned. One was obviously culture execution. We talk about that. 2 is attention to detail. And number 3 is this idea of actually having the right customer experience. And when we talk about from a sales perspective, there was a sales process when a guest walks into a store where instead of just pitching them a product right out of the gates, like you had to ask 4 to 5 questions before you even dove into anything that you wanted to recommend to the customer. And the reason why is because you really wanted to build that rapport, that relationship. And so I've taken a lot of those lessons, attention to detail, making sure that you ask the right questions into what I do today. And now what I do today is running this sales development agency and working with B2B sales teams, really coaching them on how to build value and trust first, right? Like this idea of prospecting at scale with trust and insights.
Makes me really curious because on the retail front, I did a stint in back in my day, as you can tell from my gray hairs, working in some working in some retail stores. And I remember there wasn't much coaching back then. However, if we go into a retail store now today, if you do, oftentimes you'll be met with like, "How can I help you?"
Totally.
Which is, I'd be curious to hear, like, is that the right first question? And how does that translate into B2B? Because we've talked with a handful of other guests. We see it in our space. I see it from my sales perspective. If someone comes to me, we know they've already done tons of research before they've gotten to me. And so I think there's somewhat of a sales assumption amongst salespeople now where it's like, well, they already know, so I don't really have to do that much work to close them. right?
Right.
So I can ask, sort of like we did in the retail space. I can ask, how can I help you today?
Yeah.
Versus I did some LinkedIn research, I did some deep dive. So I'm just curious if you see that connection in the sort of the laziness of it now. And what kind of questions would you speak into both that retail side and translating into the B2B side?
Yeah, that's a great question, Luke. So, one of the things from a retail perspective that they did really well was, and I worked on the sales floor there as well when I was younger. One of the first things that we did was in the 10 Commandments of customer service, when a guest walks into the store, first and foremost, we use the terminology guests. So when a guest walked into the store, that's how we treated them as such.
Sure.
But the very first thing that we did wasn't ask them, hey, how can I help you today? What we did was we actually asked them, hey, can I offer you a bottle of water or coffee?
Wow.
Welcome to...
That's much better than welcome to Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
But it broke the ice.
That's
right?
so much better.
And so today, when we're thinking about adding value and insight first in B2B sales, the very first thing that you do is basically offer them some type of value added insight to their industry, like speaking to what matters to them, not what matters to you, but what matters to them.
Assuming they've already done the research.
Assuming they've done the research.
Right. Assuming our marketing efforts have done it, we can then come in and say, hey, I've noticed X, Y, or Z with your industry, and add in some kind of value there. That's kind of the route that you're going.
Well, and the transition is that they've done research on you, right? Maybe you've done some research on them, but you're really trying to build that level of trust and relationship with them. So the very first thing that I would typically do is send them a piece of content, or maybe you found an article online that's relevant to their industry or to their business, and say, hey, Luke, I found a marketing article on here about what trends are happening in this space. I thought you would enjoy it. I'll send it over to you. Let me know what you think. Give me any feedback that you might think. And just leave it at that, right? Like it's value.
Wait, so you're not going to ask or drop a link to schedule a call with you or anything like that? Sorry, that was a joke. I know we don't do that. But that's what everybody does currently. It's like, really? I don't want to book a time with you. I don't even know who you are.
Totally.
There's a mix in there. There's a mix in there because we've got a guest coming on a little bit later where they have an AI tool that essentially, it's called Sift, but they will sift through tons and tons of research and be able to basically provide these insights. And so they'll send it out and I think they will say like, hey, if you want to talk about it, let me know, but here's all the data. So I think there's still a soft way to, like you can ask for it, but it just depends what you're providing, the value you're giving, how insightful it might be, depends what your service is. And so I think there are some nuance in there, but that's important to know in your research. Have they been looking into it? Are the signals that I think we're going to talk about in a little bit too, like what signals have popped up that we're acknowledging? And so I think it also just depends what scale they're in.
That's where like AI comes into play. In your workflow, your sales process is just getting really granular. There's no reason why we can't surface the right buying intent signals or triggers or anything like that with some of the AI tools that we have at our disposal. But you still have to humanize it. Like you still have to build that relationship, because ultimately that's what it comes down to. Like we are human to human relationships. That's really, really what comes first. At the end of the day.
Love it.
So good.
Well, so everybody, I'm sure you guys are taking notes or scribbling down thoughts somewhere, because I certainly have been. When it comes to your story and your journey, I have no doubt that there's a lot of tough lessons that have been learned, a lot of successes too. One thing that I want to lean into, because you have such a family legacy of entrepreneurship and leadership, I'd love to just ask, before we get into the nitty gritty of Sales Nav and LinkedIn and what have you, I want to know where your heart is at, because I think that's ultimately what will help us build trust with our audience today is, sure, we can talk about LinkedIn all day until we're blue in the face, but I'd love to know where you're coming from. So from an entrepreneurship perspective, what would you say is broken in how we perceive entrepreneurship today in our culture? Entrepreneurship, I think it's probably one of the most underrated
topics that's talked about in this younger generation, right? And when we think about it from a culture perspective, look, we live in America. It's the most prosperous country in the world, right? And the opportunities that we have in this country are endless. And I think it's really important for this next generation to understand there are options out there that they can take on if we educate this next generation the right way. And that topic is really about this topic of entrepreneurship. My wife and I are actually teaching entrepreneurship and business to a homeschool co-op.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we're walking them through really the foundational pieces of how free markets evolved in America, the biblical worldview, the Christian work ethic, and how we serve other people, right? Taking risks. I mean, because that's ultimately what we're called to do, is to serve other people. And part of that whole process is embracing the opportunities that we have in front of us. So,
and I'm curious, because we're talking about heart here, as you go down that road, especially with your kids. I'm very curious. I've got a 2-year-old and a 5-month-old at home, and my brain's already like, how do we teach them? We got to get ahead of this, right?
Can't get this wrong.
When you talk about, especially from your background in faith, those biblical principles, what kind of foundations are you trying to instill with them? And then how are you doing that? What does that look like?
Love it. First and foremost is obviously making God number one. And building a relationship with the Lord. But the other part of it is teaching this next generation truth. So we really kind of create this culture in our family of teaching truth, right? Critical thinking, the ability to be able to solve problems and think for themselves, not in a selfish way, but to like really think through things on why things happen, and why things happen the way they do, and think through what that means, and not just go with the status quo because somebody else was telling them a certain thing or whatever that might be. Like, stop and think, like, why is that? So we try to teach them godly principles, a good work ethic, and then teach them truth, right? Always seek truth.
It's so good. Well, I do think it's not even this younger generation, because we're in an information age. We're in a overconsumption age, post truth really, or post trust, which is becoming post truth, which is very right. That's what's turning into. There's so much that oftentimes I find myself doing it too. I'll read a headline and go, okay, that's it. That's fact. Right. I'll see an AI search headline and go, yep, that's it right there. I don't have to scroll any further on Google. I don't have to, I saw someone share it on LinkedIn.
What I needed.
Right. And so I love that, because I don't think it was instilled in me. I had to relearn it as I got older to realize, maybe I should start questioning things here. Right. And I do think that's a really good core of entrepreneurship, because some of the best entrepreneurs I know are constantly questioning the status quo. That's how evolution, that's how you evolve in business. It's how you continue to grow. And I know you've had a lot of different backgrounds of entrepreneurship and enterprise, SaaS, retail, like you've seen it all. And so it's really, I think it's just powerful to start with that heart foundation for your children.
Love it. Well, and I love just this concept of school, because I think school education in our country has taught people not to think for themselves.
They've made cogs in a wheel.
We've been churning out, as a part of the industrialization of our country, we've been churning out cogs in a machine. We haven't been churning out free thinkers. And one of the side effects of that has been the polarization of our country from a political perspective. We've seen the loss of a desire, a pursuit for God. And there are so many psychologists out there who have historically been anti-God, who are now coming back and saying, it's actually mentally healthy. It reduces anxiety. It increases your longevity of life when you believe in God.
Right.
I mean,
the studies behind even submitting to a higher
a higher authority.
Right?
So what's hilarious is all of this is coming out of this conversation about entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurship is critical thinking for oneself, taking ownership of your own life and saying, I'm going to pursue this. I'm going to take on this challenge. I'm not going to give up. And so when we look at the current influencers of the day as it relates to entrepreneurship, I'm not going to name drop because there are good things that all of them have good things to say.
Yeah. Right.
But there are also some really bad habits that I think are being taught in entrepreneurship that are messing with the heart of people. I think that this term of hustle, I use it a lot, but if you use it out of context, I actually see it. Yes, I do. But I would actually add
we have a different
negative
framing of it.
I'd add one negative word, and hopefully this doesn't get us flagged on YouTube, but it's hustle porn. It is this infatuation with endless working.
Yep.
It is so unhealthy.
Yes.
And it is going to result not only in an increase in anxiety, but I think we're going to see people die earlier because of this really unhealthy push of wearing wife beaters and living like a crazy person 24/7. That hustle culture is so toxic, and it's got to be weeded out. You have to have time to rest. You have to have time to reflect. You have to have time to think critically. If you're always working and doing and executing, then how in the world are you going to actually think? Like, you're just doing the next thing that AI tells you to do.
Well, think about this, right? So,
sorry, I just realized I got really passionate about that.
No, well, here's the thing. But here's the thing, Clay. Like, you think about those entrepreneurs out there that are literally like, all they focus on is just money.
Yeah.
And
terrible goal.
You know, like, you hear this term like, hey, I'm going to sleep when I'm dead. Like, what is that, right? But if you think about this, their heart condition is all about them.
Yes.
And they're focused inwardly versus outwardly.
Yeah.
So,
what can I get? What can I consume?
100%.
What can I create?
Right. And
worse, what can you do for me?
Yeah. Like, I listened to this clip the other day from Charlie Kirk, actually, and he hits it right on the head. And he talks about, we're actually called to go out there and be productive in this country.
And give. And
serve and take risks so that we can actually go out there and pour it into other people. Right. And that's where our heart should be, is this idea of being productive, taking a risk, having those critical conversations with the heart of serving other people for good.
Yeah.
And look, there's plenty of money in this country to go around for people to be wealthy. But the first place that we really have to put our faith in is God. Yeah. I mean, that's it.
That is the root of it all.
Yeah.
And when it comes to it sounds like you grew up in a lifestyle, a culture of, being a leader, of being someone that you have to take the bull by the horns. I was kind of brought up the same way. My dad, they worked hard. Both my parents did. They worked really hard for us. But we didn't live a lavish lifestyle. I'm honestly worried because I live a lot better than my parents did when I was their age, or when they were my age, whatever you want to say there. But the whole point is, I was forced to go out, get a job, make money to pay for the things that I wanted to do. Right. I wasn't going to be given an allowance. Right. And so my parents invested in me. I was homeschooled, by the way, so huge Charlie Kirk fan. And when it comes to just the investment that he made in me, that my dad specifically made in me to go and start a business, he said, "Hey, Clay, if every dollar that you earn, you'll have to pay me back before you can put a penny of it in your pocket." But he gave me $1,000 loan so that I could go start a power washing company. Wow. So we went to Northern Tool, bought the power washer, bought the equipment, and I didn't make a penny for myself until I paid him back. It was pretty intense payback plan there, but that taught me hard work. It taught me the value of knocking on doors and building a relationship with someone.
Right. Yes.
And that's entrepreneurship.
Yep. Right.
That's what we're talking about today. Yep. And that's what you're about to dive into is your process of how you build those relationships and what door knocking looks like in a digital age.
Yeah.
So
love it.
Yeah.
Preach.
Awesome.
My goodness.
All right.
My goodness. And as we dive into this, Brad, I'm curious for your perspective, because we talked about this, because there is this next generation coming up, I think there actually is a huge focus on entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I think we sort of talked about it the other way, and I would disagree in the sense that I think there actually is a huge focus. However, there's a huge spectrum swing of like, you have to have a business by the time you're 18 and it has to do this many. And most of those kids don't understand the context and the fundamentals that you're talking about, which is why I appreciate this heart conversation and how we're about to get into this, because although you could hustle and grind and get something and work no hour, and build something, is it going to last? And do you have the right healthy fundamentals to build a family and a community that also lasts?
Yeah.
And so I just want to just add that in there too, because I think that's important. I think that there's the extreme of this that we could go down, but
well, and like how do we define legacy, right, for our families?
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people can define it different ways, but that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think we can touch on that real quick as we segue into this next section. So you mentioned earlier that you teach the homeschool group,
Yep.
Business, entrepreneurship.
Yep.
What are you telling them?
Well, the biggest thing that we're teaching these kids is to be able to understand that there's options out there, right? Like every single one of us, right? God made us in his image. We all have gifts.
That's right.
We all have skills. And what we're trying to do is give a platform for these kids to understand that, hey, if they have a little bit of an itch to actually start something, or they want to create a business or whatever that might be, what we're trying to do is give them that platform to scratch that itch a little bit deeper, right? But actually be educated in a way, in the right light. And it's not just about making money, it's about serving and solving problems with others.
Sure.
So good.
Yep.
So good. So when you were on that same journey of growing up, of being under the mentorship of your family, and you were moving into a leadership role out of just being on the floor in the retail store and into leadership, what was that mindset shift like? And is that what you can coach to all of these high school students, college students that are moving into entrepreneurship? And are they going to go through that same journey?
Yeah, a lot of the things that I learned about growing up, very similar to what you learned, right? Like my parents are all about, you earn your own way. It's about understanding the value of the dollar, right? And, you're going from learning how to set goals, learning how to achieve, learning how to meet expectations, and you're juggling all these types of things. That's a lot of what I learned. And I didn't share this with you, but my mom ran restaurants too.
Wow.
And so I worked in her restaurants as well. And that's where I kind of got my first start, but it was all about kind of like the value of the dollar. And then I transferred over to my dad's business in the retail floor. And as I kind of moved on into being a manufacturing rep because what happened was I transitioned out of that and became a manufacturer rep. And being a manufacturer rep in consumer electronics, it was fun. It was really fun. But I found like this ability to be able to communicate and connect with other people in a way that people, would listen. I don't say that in a bragging way. It's more just, whether or not you have that ability to kind of like influence people in the right way, right? And that was kind of my transition when I became a manufacturer rep and then into a leadership role inside of that. So that's, what I would say, like what was the mindset with it? Honestly, it was really just pushing myself to be better every day. But then also like having, like I had a great mentor there that called that out. Like, I had issues sometimes like growing up thinking, hey, am I ever going to be successful or as successful as my parents or whatever? And you can't compare yourself, right? And I remember one time I was at lunch with my mentor and I'm like, I'm going to be there, Bob. I know I can be successful. And he's like, who told you you're not successful? He's like, you're already successful.
That's so good.
You're already doing it. And literally like a year and a half later, I stepped into this leadership role. We were managing a $12 million to $28 million book of business. I was part of the first sales team that rolled out the Beats by Dre headphone brand in the market before it was bought by Apple. And so it just, a lot of things happened there. Yeah.
Yeah. You've been in various layers and levels of sales leadership. And I think what's cool to me about your journey is you've had to own it from the ground up. Like literally, from selling people a plate of food all the way to you know, Beats by Dre and Otterbox and everything beyond. And so there's a really cool through line, and I'm sure you've seen it as you've led teams, and as you start to scale. I've seen and talked to reps who start to lose ownership along the way, like they lose a sense of where did it start from, or who's the end user and how they're actually going to use it. They're just, I'm going to try to push this to get a commission or whatever. And so how did you see the management, well, I'll say it this way. Where did you often see reps lose ownership? And then how did you manage ownerships of, like, how did you manage and help them refine ownership of those aspects in the pipeline?
Yeah, and again, it comes down to culture, right? Yeah. So in an organization, when you're leading people, I mean, you guys know this, but it comes down to culture. If you have the right culture, it creates the right mindset. The right mindset creates the right actions. The right actions create the right outcomes. Yeah. So leading a sales team, if you have a sales team or sales reps that all they're focused on is just getting the next deal closed, that comes across like crazy, weird, slimy, whatever. Like, like it's just not a good look for the sales rep. And if you have a sales leader that's pushing that same narrative into the team, it's going to come across into your customers. So what I did is I tried to really kind of just lead the team in a way where, and there was like a high trust level, right? Like, first off, you got to hire the right people in the right seats. Number two, you got to create that culture of high level trust, right? And then number three, in that culture, what you're trying to do is you're trying to create this environment for them to go out there and do the things that they do best and foster that, and then correct them, you know, wherever they need to be corrected in that moment. But it's really kind of the step to fostering a culture of trust in relationship in that way.
Yeah. Would you say it's a little like those sales teams? Because I think nowadays a lot more, you know, especially in that enterprise role, you have a lot more hierarchical structures on the sales team. Yep. Would you say this is a little bit more flat in the sense of, you know, your sales, you know, it's not just your BDRs and SDRs like generating leads? Like, were you running more of a flatline structure, and is that the kind of elements that you're talking through? Yeah,
it was more like flatline, right? Like you had people doing business development, you had people like that are like full cycle sales reps, so on and so forth. But I never looked at myself as this guy that's like, hey, I'm your boss, and you're gonna do what I tell you to do, kind of thing. You know, we're all like rowing in the same boat. Now you do have to have enough confidence in yourself to lead in the right direction and make the right decisions and think critically and all of that. But you're really looking at it collectively as a team. Like I never really looked at like SDRs or BDRs or full cycle sales reps as two different teams. We are all one, if you will, if that makes sense.
Oh, I like where you're headed with this. Yeah.
So
I love it. Okay. Along those lines, you really worked from the very beginning to get everyone unified.
Yeah.
And we just talked a little bit about some of the pitfalls of when that doesn't happen, but I'd love to know what you recommend businesses do to rebuild or to unify sales, marketing.
Love it.
All the different pieces, parts of that.
Yeah.
What do you recommend?
Yeah. So again, it comes back to mindset. So if you're a revenue leader or a sales leader or a marketing leader, what's most important as a founder-led company or CEO, you've got to change your paradigm shift to saying, okay, sales and marketing is not siloed. Sales and marketing is actually a revenue engine. So the very first thing is that these founders, owners need to do is change this paradigm shift from sales and marketing to a rev ops or revenue engine.
Yeah.
And then the second thing to align the team, because everything stems off of the messaging that we talk about and the problems that we solve for our customers.
Right.
And we have to have sales and marketing on the same page. We have to be singing the same song, if you will. And the way we do that is literally have integrated meetings between sales and marketing to talk about the problems. Because, and you guys know this, like sales can give a lot of insights from a customer perspective, and marketing can give a lot of insights from a market research perspective. And if the two can come together to create like this killer content strategy in a world of digital, right? Like it's game over. But companies have to actually make that paradigm shift and make it, like a lot of people are running more on a traditional level of sales and marketing. It's got to be changed.
I love it. I love it.
How do you do it?
Yeah, I'd love to go into the tactics here.
Yeah, the tactics behind the messaging, it really comes down to the revenue goals. Like the leader, the founder-led CEO, they've got to be crystal clear on economic objectives, obviously. But they've also got to define like what is the culture that they're trying to develop, because that's where it starts internally. Because if the sales and marketing leaders understand like what's the main objective here, that is like the spear or tipping point that can bring those teams together. Now, what you do once you have buy-in from both the sales and marketing team, then you can actually start to create this rhythm of connection engagement on a monthly or weekly level. But you have to define the right KPIs. You got to define the right measurements on how they're being measured, because everybody's being measured a little bit differently. Well, how are we being measured collectively as an organization from a revenue perspective?
Everyone feels like they're not just winning for themselves, but like if I win for me, I'm actually winning for everybody here along the way.
Operating off of the same dashboard, the same scorecard.
And the rub is like, well, how is marketing? Because sales, right? Like sales gets glorified. We're the ones that come in and
close the deal,
and we close the contracts.
My personality,
I get the commission or the bonus or whatever. So marketing's over here thinking to themselves, well, what's in it for me? So what if there's a world that you could actually recreate a comp structure to where this revenue team is comped on a whole different level, kind of
powerful.
thing. You know what I mean? Now,
well, you simply just need to offer incentives for the whole team. It doesn't have to be a commission, because sharing commissions doesn't make any sense at all. It's just gonna piss everybody off. But if you can go in and say, hey, here's our target. If we hit the target, here's your incentive. It's not here if you as this salesperson hit this goal. No, it's if we hit our goals together, and then we work individually with each person to make sure that they're hitting their personal KPIs. But I mean, the tide raises all boats. I mean, there's no reason to penalize one group and glorify another, because they both contributed to that outcome. And if you don't think they did, then you should fire the one that you don't think that did. So, okay, so what I love the direction that we're going, and I love the foundation that we've built so far, because I've been itching to get to this part of the conversation. Sales Navigator as an operating system. You and I, we've talked a little bit about it, but I've intentionally not asked these questions because I wanted them saved for this podcast. But when it comes to your perspective of LinkedIn Sales Navigator, I'd like an overview. Why is it important? What's wrong with it? And what should it be doing for your business?
Love it.
Especially B2B.
Yes. Let's lean into B2B right now, because B2C I don't think applies here.
So Sales Navigator, it is a digital workspace for B2B sales reps to drive and build relevant relationships. So the way I look at it is, it's really a workspace where you can actually, it's not a CRM. It is not another piece of software you're in tech stack that you're trying to input another piece of data. What you're trying to do is you're trying to mine for the right relationships, because we all know that the timing of you reaching out to a prospect, they're not going to buy based off of your timeline as a seller. right? They're gonna buy off of their timeline.
Wait, really? You can't hold a gun to their head and say, "Give me money"? I thought you could do that.
What about my KPIs? I gotta hit. I gotta
hit my quarterly targets.
Yeah, what
exactly.
are you talking about?
Exactly. But Sales Navigator is probably one of the most powerful sales tools that I've found. There's nothing like it. So a couple different things around Sales Navigator that you really want to kind of view. So first and foremost, number one, it is the number one sales tool that gives you the ability to drive proximity within your network. Mm-hmm. There's no other sales tool out there that can do that. And what I mean by that is that typically you'll have first level, second level, third level connections. And what you can do is you can essentially build target lists and lead lists inside of Sales Navigator that gives you live insights as to warm paths into connections or relationships that you might be looking for from an introduction perspective. Mm-hmm. Right. The other one, when you think about Sales Navigator, it gives you actually real-time buying signals and triggers.
Yes.
Well, what does that mean? Well, in the Sales Nav world, right, we're all talking about coming back to building relationships that are authentic and real, right? The alerts page on Sales Nav, if you go on that homepage, it gives you the ability to actually have real-time insights to any type of trigger. First one that you want to look for is a job change in an organization. So a job change you can filter that out. What you typically want to do is you want to actually take a look at a job change for an individual of your ICP that has been with that company less than a year. And the reason for that is because if somebody's in a role 3 to 7 months or even up to 8 to 10 months or whatnot, they're in that role long enough to know that, hey, there's probably some changes here that I now identified. Now they're more apt to actually go out there and shop for new vendors or whatever that might be, but they're trying to make a name for themselves too, right? So that's probably the most popular trigger that is used in Sales Nav. The other one is this idea of commenting and liking other people's posts. So when we think about like real-time triggers, I had on my target list for my business, there was a company that was posting about trying to sell suites at a stadium, low inventory, so on and so forth. Now's the time to do it. Well, that was a trigger for this individual looking for help to get more leads in her pipeline kind of thing. So I liked it, commented on her post. She responded back. We got in a DM. I sent her some value-added information on just strategies and tactics on how to build pipeline and Sales Navigator. And away we went in a conversation.
Wow.
I love it. So I have noticed you have liked some of my posts recently.
I need to comment more though.
Yeah, crazy. Wow, interesting. One of the things I'm thinking about backing up a little bit to move forward is Sales Nav. I love it from a sales perspective. We talked about RevOps integrations with marketing teams. How can marketing teams use that data?
Awesome. I love it. Okay. So we are living in a world where, again, 75, 80% of buyers are already down that path. How do we get ahead of that? Well, it comes down to content. What kind of value add? So where marketing can come into play along with the sales team doesn't have time to create content. They don't have time to figure out what's the right content that they can put out there. How do we do it? Well, that's where marketing can come into play, and this idea of actually collaborating with marketing and marketing actually creating the right content and content strategy for LinkedIn specifically, not just a blanket content strategy around blogs or whatever it might be, but it has to be a content strategy specific to LinkedIn. Now you could take it a step further and drive that content strategy on company pages, and then also enable that sales rep to take bits and pieces of that content strategy for their own promotion on their own personal posts and those types of things. And so that's where marketing can really come into play. Now, there's a lot of other things that you can do from a search perspective on other people that might be looking for your products or services. But what you want to do is you want to get together with your marketing team and ask them, hey, what's your SEO strategy? What are some of the keywords that you guys are leveraging for some of these campaigns? And use those keywords and those search terms in Sales Navigator. And then what happens is you start to surface those relevant leads and companies that are actually looking for the same services that you offer.
Well, if I can go one layer deeper on that, things that we've been testing already at our agency from an SEO perspective is when you're dropping keywords that are a part of the SEO strategy into your comments and into your posts, then AI specifically is indexing all of that. Google doesn't do it as much, but if you want to start gaining relevancy in all of these large language models, that's a way to do that. So that's a little plug there for ways to leverage.
Very meta of you to do that on this podcast.
It is?
That's going to be on YouTube.
And LinkedIn.
And on LinkedIn.
I mean, it's pretty meta to talk about LinkedIn on LinkedIn about LinkedIn.
Oh,
so
don't
you're
even
welcome.
get me started
All right.
there. We don't have time on that.
Okay, so I'm going to just challenge you here because this all sounds great. I am sick and tired of having people drop into my DMs on LinkedIn, and they try. They're like, hey, I like what you said about this in your recent post, or I love what you said about this on your recent podcast. Tell me more. And I'm like, why? Like, why would I spend time telling you more when you obviously didn't watch the podcast? Because the answer to that question is in the podcast that you just asked. So I know that all you're doing is trying to build relationship.
Yeah.
Well, first off, what are the areas, the common pitfalls that you see people fall into when it comes to misusing LinkedIn? And I mean, how do we avoid looking like a slimy salesperson?
Totally.
Danielle Bernowski was on our podcast last season, and I love the convo we had about slimy sales because that's what we don't want to come across as.
Right.
And I feel like I have to put on my muck boots when I get into LinkedIn DMs. So how do we avoid that?
Yeah. It's so honestly, when we think about the shift and change, we've got to think about our prospecting efforts and connecting with people, again, with leading with insights and value first, right? We're trying to help them solve a problem. And if we can get and teach these sales teams in the mindset that it's not about them, it's about your prospects or the people that you're trying to help, that's probably a good starting point. Now, when it comes to LinkedIn, right, we've heard the term pitch slap, right? The connection, and then somebody comes into your DM and creates this irrelevant message that has absolutely nothing to do with your business. Well, that's giving people a bad name. So what we're trying to do is educate B2B sales teams to connect with people and leading with value and insights, right? And so this idea of leveraging AI or doing research, or you have to take more time to do it. And yes, it takes more work. Hello, work is like how you get there.
Hey, kids out there, it's going to take a lot of work.
You know what I mean? Like, we're not automating our outreach.
Well,
we're not, through LinkedIn. Like, that's just not the way to do it.
If I can ask your opinion on something though, about automating outreach. And I don't know where Luke stands on this. He may slap me upside the head.
We've got some other guests.
He might
who have
pitch slap me
here
right now, but I think I misused that term. I don't know. But here's what I've done, and it's worked. I've been using both Comet, which is Perplexity's agent, and I've used Operator, which is ChatGPT's OpenAI agent. And I've used these, and I gave it parameters to go hunt down websites that had issues with them, specifically in a certain industry and in a certain geographic area. And it would do that. It would generate a list for me and say, here are the issues. And it would essentially perform the audit that I trained it how to do on those websites. And then I simultaneously trained those bots to go and get on LinkedIn and find the CEOs and the C-level executives of those organizations to do an outreach via SalesNav, saying, hey, I found this issue with your website. And I'd love to help you guys with it, or at least go fix it. Here's how you do it. It's probably this plugin that's not working. You can take care of it, or if you need some help, we can help you. I had mixed responses. Some ignored, some said, oh, thank you so much. None of them turned into deals. But I'm just wondering, Have you explored that? And can we leverage AI? Should we leverage AI for these sort of outreaches?
Yeah, that's a great question, Clay, because I think the big rub right now in the community around LinkedIn is this idea of automation. So LinkedIn has a pretty strict rule around automation or connecting other software pieces to LinkedIn, and just
they'll flag
kind of
you
doing
pretty
this.
quick.
They flag you, or they'll take you down.
Yeah.
I think from an AI perspective, from that example, you're doing deep research that's relevant to their business. I don't see any issues or problems with that at all, because what you're trying to do is you're really trying to identify a problem out there that you might be able to help them with. And honestly, like, okay, maybe some of those deals haven't happened yet or whatnot.
I don't think it's been long enough.
Right, their first touch points.
Yeah.
Their first touch points. So this idea, the rule of thumb is like you want to make at least 8 to 10 different touches to a prospect at any point in time.
It's got to be more than that at this point.
Well, to add value and to
For them to even remember who you are.
to add value and to get in that habit of doing that. But I don't see any problem doing that. What I do see a problem with is when people connect automation tools with LinkedIn and they're scraping LinkedIn and then they're putting, just
my
random.
favorite of the AI comments. I got one this morning that was hysterical. And so you can always tell, but I think that is the problem. What you're talking about here is like, please use AI for deep research, because I just don't have time for that anymore. However, I think it's the human outreach thing. A Loom video over top of someone's website. That to me is meaningful. I send DM videos all day long to not close a deal, to set meetings, initial meetings. And those work all the time. And so I think it's just the context, the nuance, all of that matters.
Well, here's the thing with Sales Navigator, right? It's a relationship building tool. It is a relationship building tool.
Don't think it as a closer.
Right.
Well, it's not an email marketing platform.
Right.
Blast.
So when we think about email blasting and nurture and all that, there's a time and place for that, right? That's inside the CRM. What Sales Navigator is doing is warming relationships up.
Right.
So when you think about Sales Navigator, it isn't like, so SDRs and BDRs, right? There's this idea and concept of fast prospecting versus slow prospecting, right? Well, Sales Nav isn't really built for fast prospecting per se. You could do it and maybe duplicate some messages and emails and stuff like that. But what you're really trying to do is create true, authentic business relationships. It may take a little bit longer, maybe it doesn't. But if you get in that habit of truly building relationships, it's the new world of used to knock on doors. Like I used to knock on doors in office buildings.
Right.
Like this is kind of.
Well, and I think you have to layer it too. Like I would take those. In fact, we should do this. Those videos you sent. Let's mail them something.
Oh, that's smart.
You know what I mean? Even if it's just a postcard that's like, hey, dude, I'm the guy who link. I mailed a bunch of postcards a year ago. And didn't get a bunch of responses. Someone emailed me like 2 months ago and was like, hey, we need this quick site, and it was out of their budget, but like they still knew I was there. Because I mailed something, did the email follow. And so it has to be this nuanced thing of like multi-channel. How can we layer in mailers? How can we layer and again, nuance in the elements that we're sending.
Well, I think it's good to set some expectations here. Out of 100 messages you send, what's your response rate?
So that's a great question. So we ran a test in August where we were just playing around with different tactics around just connection requests. We sent out 120, 30 of them responded back.
Connection requests with
30 of them
with no message?
With no message.
No message.
So you don't recommend doing a message?
Well, no, it depends.
Okay.
Right. So what we were trying to test is, and still test, right? Like you're still trying to experimenting.
It's changing constantly.
Yeah. Because sometimes it just depends, but there's times where people love the personalized message when you do the connection request. Other people are like, oh, he's
trying to get something from me. Yeah.
Versus just, hey, let's just send the connection out. And then once they accept the connection, then you have somebody to engage with. Well, out of that, right, we had about a 30 to 35% response rate.
Meaning 30 to 35% accepted the request.
Yep. And then out of that group of people, we actually had about a 12 to 15% conversion rate of conversations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? And the reason why is because that second step after that connection request is accepted, it was a simple note to say, hey, thanks for connecting. Would love to chat with you. anytime. Or it's, hey, thanks for connecting. I put together something for you. Would love to send it to you if you're interested. And then there's other tests that we did where it wasn't really anything. It was just, hey, I want to be able to connect at some point and share with you a little bit more about, what we do. So,
I would encourage people. I'm bullish on this.
Yeah.
Connection request, no message.
Yeah.
Engage with their content.
Yeah.
Send a video a few days after. Video.
Yep.
And my videos are very like, this is who I am. This is where I live. This is my family. This is what I love. A little bit about business, a little bit about life. And then excited to keep learning and growing with you. 80% response rate.
Yes. So
Every time.
Dude, you just hit on something that's huge, that it's super underutilized in terms of just connecting with people and just building that relationship. Video, 1,000%. So you're already on it. The other one is just voice text, which is only
those are
available
good
on
too. Yeah.
Because people, once they see it, like you sent a video, they're kind of curious. Like
they want to click play.
Yeah.
They want to click and play.
Yeah.
Voice texting is the same thing.
Yeah.
But you're hearing the inflection.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. It's more personalized in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
I love that. Okay. So when it comes to, just to boil down all of what we just talked about, maybe 3 to 5% response rate, or total like engagement rate. So send out 100 message, 3 to 5 of them will get back to you and will be a good conversation. A lot of people get intimidated by that. But this is where, and what you and I are doing together is this velocity framework.
Yes.
And the third step in the velocity framework is called hustle. And another way to put that is relentless discipline.
Yes.
And I just want to shout out to every single person listening in right now. You will fail miserably if you don't do this. If you don't go all the way, if you just do 10 messages,
Yep.
the odds are not in your favor to get a response.
Yeah.
You have to do volume, and you have to be consistent. You have to have discipline. You have to stick with the process. You can't change your strategy every 5 minutes.
Right.
You've got to stick with it.
Yep.
But the thing is, like, just like when you're dating your spouse before you propose to them, if you just went on one date and then propose to them, what do you think the likelihood is that you're going to get a slap in the face? Quite high. You weirdo. Go away. Now, if anyone proposed on the second date,
I was pretty
and
close.
is still married, congratulations.
Yeah, I was
very
really close.
proud of you.
Yeah.
But the reality is, like, you have to build relationship, and
do.
it doesn't happen like that. It takes time and effort and investment, and it's not going to be through automation alone. It's not going to be through a random DM you send to somebody on LinkedIn and you scored $1 million deal.
Yep.
And it's going to take time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or even one coffee like that's a lot of what people are doing now. It's like, oh, I just wanted to have a 30-minute coffee connection online, and you do that. It's like rarely will those close any deals.
Yeah.
Like you can't expect it.
So here at Good Agency, we work with businesses of all shapes and sizes. Our average is somewhere between 5 and 10 million in revenue. But we work with $1 billion brands. We work with $1 million.
Yeah.
But the biggest clients that we have who have done 7 figures with us over the years, those relationships took years to actually close the deal.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time and investment and discipline. And so my biggest encouragement out of all of this conversation is do exactly what Brad said, y'all. Do exactly what Brad said to do. Build the relationship. Put it on your calendar to have the discipline to say, I'm going to do this many
time blocks,
videos every single day or every single week, and I'm going to send these out to these prospects. I'm going to use Sales Nav to identify who my favorite customer profile is and go after those folks.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the discipline and consistency. You just hit it right on the head. So when you think about this idea, like the mindset of actually making this as part of your sales process, that's where it needs to be.
It's not a one-off.
Yeah.
It's not a one-off. It is literally like what you do. And what I tell sales reps that struggle to get started, like, hey, where do I get started? Or like, how do I start to like time block this into my calendar or anything like that? What I tell them is this 5-3-1 rule in prospecting. And basically what it is it takes 15 minutes to do. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to build up the habits of getting into the tool and actually using it, right, over time. But you want to start with this 5-3-1 rule. And what it is you open up Sales Navigator on that alert page and you take a look at maybe 5 posts on alert page and go out there, comment, like, engage with them, but provide insight and value in those comments, right? And then
don't go to ChatGPT to write those comments. Please don't do that.
Yeah. And then 3, what you want to do on the third part, right, is you want to, the 5-3 framework is 5 people you want to engage with. The 3 is you want to be able to actually comment and like on those 5. And then the third one, you want to be able to engage with these people to add value and insight, like send them something, right? And then the 1 is essentially just connecting with somebody where maybe there's like a piece of content out there that the marketing team actually put together that you want to send off to them.
Yeah, very Darren McKee.
So like there's different layers of insights and data that you can send them.
I love it. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask two more questions because
we got to land the plane.
We got to land the plane here. We're having way too much fun. The first question I would just say is, what should every sales rep, BDR, SDR stop doing today, and what should they start doing today?
They need to stop going into their day without not knowing what to do. They've got to step back and actually understand what motion are they going to drive daily from an activity perspective, because activity is the leading indicators to deals that actually close.
Okay.
But have a plan.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Amen.
Love it. All right. Cool. So question that you want to leave for the next guest.
The question I would ask him for the next guest would be, why do you do what you do?
Amen.
I love it.
I love it. Thanks so much, Brad.
Yeah.
Brad.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, man. So good. So good. Thank you, sir. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in on Good Business today. If you want to connect with Brad, Simplified Sales, right?
Yeah, or LinkedIn.
Connect with the man on LinkedIn.
And anyone who does the LinkedIn strategy, back to Brad.
Do it. Do it right now. And I would also encourage you to stay tuned, because Brad is now a certified fractional revenue executive through our new Velocity framework that we have just launched internally. And our book Velocity launches in January. So be sure to tune into that and ask Brad about what it means to be an FRE and how he can support you. He'd be a great one for you guys. Have a blessed day. Write a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts if you like this message. If you like Luke's hair, give us 5 stars on Spotify, which is a thing now. And we do really want to make sure that this ends up in the hands of everybody who could get impacted. So if you know someone in sales, if you know someone in marketing, if you know someone who's running a business, share this episode with them. It's a way to impact the world for good today. So we'll see you guys next time on Good Business.